morning again. Nice to see you all again here this morning. As you have seen on agenda, we have certain sessions in simulator this afternoon, and there will be a detailed presentation on 2 pilots and data collection process. So keeping that in mind, this is just a precursor to that, where I'll explain the 3 key terms within the reference of MEPC circulars related to EEDI, SEEMP and EEOI. So within next 15-20 minutes, we'll go through a small introduction on these 3 terms and Energy Efficiency Design Index, Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan and Energy Efficiency Operational Indicator. So before we go into this, we have to slightly understand what is the primary source of fuel on board ships or in maritime industry when we are talking. So the primary source as of now is carbon based, which is fossil fuel, which is converted into mechanical, thermal or electrical energy. So why this is important? Because when we are converting this energy into further 3 types, the systems involved are either in storage of energy, conversion of energy, or how we are consuming this energy. So this understanding gives us a scope where we have the scope of introducing technology or introducing further energy efficiency measures. So understanding that, if we see, there have been different approaches to it, but with the introduction of chapter 4 into annex 6 of MARPOL, which brought in specifically regulations 19 to 23. Regulation 19 was on application, which made it compulsory for ships above 400 GRT to comply with EEDI and SEEMP requirements, specifically of this chapter, which approximately generates 70% of shipping emissions. So this is a mandatory requirement for ships 400 GRT and above, but voluntary other ships are also open to participate in such activities. Now when we are talking of these 3 indicators or design index, regulation 20, 21 and 22 specifically speak about them, and 23, which is included in MARPOL coming up from UNFCCC, is promotion of technical cooperation and transfer of technology, which is specifically in line with requirements of our results as MTCC. Now going back to this confusion of EEDI, EEOI and SEEMP, I'll just try to break it down here. So when we see a ship in new construction, from design stage, construction, sea trials and operations. So when we are in design stage, a ship's EEDI or Energy Efficiency Design Index is calculated. So once that index is calculated, it needs to be verified. We'll go through very quickly through the basic formula just to understand what are the systems which affect this. So once the calculated EEDI is done in the design stage, it needs to be verified during the construction and sea trials. So this will give us a figure of EEDI. But during operation, we need an indicator to monitor or measure that this index is being complied with. So this is where the role of Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan comes in, and EEOI is an indicator used in SEEMP, which helps us to monitor whether we are operating within this design index or not. And SEEMP is again based on a simple Deming cycle of plan, do, check and act. So what is this EEDI? Energy Efficiency Design Index. So EEDI for new ships is the single most important technical measure aimed at promoting the use of more energy efficient equipment and engines. The EEDI requires a minimum energy efficiency level per capacity mile or ton mile for different ship types and size segments. It is expected to stimulate continued innovation and technical development of all components influencing the fuel efficiency of a ship from its design phase. As long as the required energy efficiency level is attained, ship designers and builders are free to use the most cost-efficient solutions. So as we are talking about is, so in the design stage, we are free to choose what kind of technology. There are different solutions available. So it's up to the ship owner to use it as long as it is fulfilling the required EEDI. The EEDI provides a specific figure for an individual ship design expressed in grams of carbon dioxide per ship's capacity mile. And the smaller the EEDI, the more energy efficient is the ship design. And is calculated by a formula. We'll see the formula in next slide. So this EEDI is to be calculated for certain types of new ships over 400 GRT and compared with a target value which is required over 15 years in 3 steps. So as I had mentioned briefly yesterday, now we have 3 phases of EEDI which are based on a reduction factor. So EEDI will need to be reduced in 5-yearly stage, and in upcoming MEPC of first week of July they might introduce a 4th stage. Targets value of EEDI are called required EEDI and calculated values are called attained EEDI. So there are 2 guidelines from IMO which tells you that what is the required EEDI for this type of a ship and this size of a ship, and then based on your vessel's design, during design stage and sea trials, actual value of EEDI is calculated. And certainly we will see that attained EEDI must be less than the required EEDI to comply with the requirements. The energy efficiency design index defines the energy efficiency as I just stated, carbon emissions of a ship, which is cost to environment per tons of cargo carried per mile distance, which is benefit to the society. So this is a short formula for calculating EEDI. So if we just see primarily what influences EEDI, the first part, the blue one towards me, is the energy needed for propulsion. The next part is the other source of energy, which is auxiliary power requirements of the vessel. Then you have if you have any innovative power generation technology is in use on board or any alternative source on board. And then you have innovative technologies that provide mechanical propulsion for ships, such as maybe sails or kites or etc. And the last term in the denominator is about ship's deadweight and ship speed, because that is the benefit to society, the cargo carried or the transport work actually carried out. So if we see the last part, which is efficiency in technologies, is subtracted from that. So as more and more innovative technology will be used, the EEDI will be smaller in value. So the IMO resolution 203 and 245 MEPC, the EEDI attained by ship must be equal to or less than the required EEDI, which is established in accordance to a reference line. We'll quickly have a view on reference line. The reference line is calculated for each ship type, and reference line is usually A by B, which is where A is a constant for a ship type. So each ship type is given these resolutions. They have those tables in there which give you the constant for a ship type, and based on the deadweight of the ship and constant of a ship type, a required EEDI is calculated, where X is the reduction factor. We'll briefly have a look into the table from the circular which gives us the reduction factor. So this gives you the attained EEDI, which must be less than the required EEDI. So required EEDI is clearly given, and it is based on 3 phase stage, which is reducing. This is the reduction factor table. So you can see it's different for different ship types and sizes, and then you can see there phase 0, 1, 2 and 3, as I had mentioned that there are 3 different phases to it. So this is again used in calculation when you are calculating your required attained EEDI. Just to make that look a little more simpler, we can take an example of a vessel, say 20,000 deadweight, a normal bulk carrier, and EEDI reference line must sustain the reduction factor as, so we can see there are 3 phases. So 1st January 2015 onwards, 10% reduction is required. Phase 2, 20% reduction is required, and by 2025, 30% reduction is required. I'll just go back here. So you can see in the first line bulk carrier of 20,000 deadweight and above, you will see 0, 10, 20 and 30. So that is the percentage of reduction factor which is required if ship owner wants to operate his vessel beyond these dates. So therefore, based on the requirements, if vessel is required to operate beyond these dates, it needs to utilize relevant energy saving measures to bring down its calculated EEDI within these factors. And to achieve this reduction factor within logical business sense, a benchmark of solutions obviously is required and has to be efficient, cost effective, and effect on the ship needs to be considered on continuous basis. So it is not that if I'm in compliance as a ship owner today, I'm okay with this. As we move forward, I have to look for technologies and keep my EEDI within the requirement, because it will keep reducing as we go further. So this answers the question which was raised yesterday, that whether it is a fixed target or we keep reducing as we going forward. So we are expecting a fourth stage, maybe we'll hear soon about it. Going on from to the next stage, moving forward from the design stage to operational stage. So operational stage, you have ship energy efficiency and management plan. As I explained, it's based on simple PDCA cycle. So in planning stage, the purpose, now as of now, the last resolution which came in October last year, the SEEMP is divided into two parts. The purpose of part 1 of SEEMP is to establish a mechanism for a company or a ship to improve its energy efficiency in operations. Preferably, this aspect of ship-specific ship energy efficiency management plan is linked to a broader corporate energy plan, or whatever company has its own plan on controlling its energy requirements or efficiency. And therefore, it operates and controls the ship, recognizing that not any two ships or two shipping companies are same, that ships operate under a wide range of different conditions. So that is the first requirement here, is that SEEMP has to be very ship specific. Even two sister ships where the machinery is different to each other, they cannot have a same SEEMP, and that is one of the challenges, as yesterday was highlighted, when as flag state or as a port state we check these SEEMPs. In general, we know in practice this is a template which is provided by a class or a shipping operator to the vessel, and they just fill in the requirements. You have to be very sure that this is ship specific and answer to the needs of the ship. So part 1 of SEEMP should be developed as a ship specific plan by the company and should effect efforts to improve a ship's energy efficiency through 4 steps: planning, implementation, monitoring, and self-evaluation and improvement, which is covered under review. These components play a critical role in the continuous cycle to improve ship energy efficiency management. With each iteration of a cycle, some elements of part 1 will necessarily change while others may remain as before. Now, if in this stage we have come from EEDI to SEEMP. So EEOI, which is operating indicator, energy efficiency operating indicator, is a part of a KPI which can be used in your SEEMP. So energy efficiency of ships should be monitored quantitatively. This should be done by an established method, preferably by an international standard. So therefore, EEOI is developed by IMO, is one of internationally established tools to obtain a quantitative indicator of energy efficiency of the ship. So EEOI could be considered as primary monitoring tool, although other quantitative measures may be available. So if we see planning, so onshore plan, ship specific plan, training for staff and shoreside both, and to establish KPIs, EEOI is one of those examples. Implementation, procedure, plan approved, and data normalization, because for calculation of EEOI, we again need data. And that is exactly our pilot one, where we are requesting ships the data to calculate EEOI and compare that index to EEDI, whether they are complying with the requirements or not. This also calls for a initiative in capacity building, where we as a flag state or a port state has that capacity to review these aspects of any ship flagged to us or visiting our ports. So part 2, little bit more on part 2 of the SEEMP, which was introduced in last year, October 2016. So shift fuel on consumption data collection plan. So this has to be part of the SEEMP also, which is, all ships on or before 31st December 2018, especially in case of 5,000 gross tonnage and above, SEEMP shall include a description of the methodology that will be used to collect the data required by Regulation 22 of Annex 6, and the process will be used to report the data to the ship's administration, because there will be a requirement for ships to report their fuel consumption to their flag states. So part 2 of SEEMP, the ship's fuel oil consumption data collection plan, will contain such methodology and process. And this data collection, the purpose as of now, this will feed into the KPI calculation. EEOI is one of the examples. So once the standardized data reporting format for the data collection system is established, it will develop methods to collect, aggregate and report ship data with regard to annual fuel consumption, distance traveled, hours underway and other data required. Now going further into SEEMP, I'll highlight on EEOI, which is also part of our pilot 1. So EEOI is this is a concept of an indicator for the energy efficiency of a ship in operation as an expression of efficiency expressed in form of CO2 emitted per unit of transport work, very similar to EEDI. So it's similar to EEDI, again represents CO2 emission for a ship per unit of cargo, mile transport service. However, as against the EEDI, that is defined for one operating point of a ship, EEOI represents the actual CO2 emission from combustion of all types of fuels on board, which is calculated multiplying total fuel consumption for each type of fuel and then with respective carbon factor of each fuel. It has its own challenges. We were discussing yesterday with our colleagues from Panama that how much effective it will be, because what is the actual constituents of the fuel used and how it is reported to flag or to the data collection, it will have its own challenges. So that may be a limitation to this study. The energy efficiency operational indicator is again a tool which will be used for managing ships and fleets efficiency performance over a time. EEOI enables operators to measure the fuel efficiency of a ship in operation and to gauge the effect of any changes in operation, in example, improved voyage planning and more frequent propeller cleaning or introduction of technical measures such as waste heat recovery system or replacing a new propeller or any other technology which is available. So again, because one of the results is to promote uptake of new technology, this EEOI will give us a scope to look into which side, because if we go to the first slide, as I said, as of now, we are converting energy from fossil fuels into mechanical, electrical or different things as required on board. So this will give us a scope on different types of ship, which type of technology to target. For example, let me give you a simple example. Now a ship which is on an ocean going voyage is using its main engine for most of the operation, and if it has a shaft generator, it will use shaft generator or one of the auxiliary engines. So the technology controlling emissions in there would be more targeted towards the main engine, because main engine has much more running hours as compared to other machinery on board. Now come to our offshore operations. The vessels going and servicing rigs or standing by, all they are using their main engine propulsion is for a very short duration of time, but their auxiliary engines keep running for a much longer time. So there will be these specific areas highlighted when we are calculating EEOI, that which area actually requires that technology, and we can go back to engine makers targeting that, okay, we need intervention in this part, or this is what we will need to see improvement in. So EEI also explains ship CO2 performance, how it is measured and how the index could be used to promote low emission shipping in order to help limit the impact of shipping on global climate change. Just again for your reference, this is the basic formula for calculating EEOI. As I mentioned, we'll use fuel type, voyage number, mass of consumed fuel during the voyage, then fuel mass of each type of fuel, and cargo carried. See this afternoon requests all this information from ship. But again, there is a need of awareness and capacity to go there, because some of the data, when we receive it, just by looking at forms, we see it has not been reported correctly. And as of now, this is all voluntary requirement of reporting. So it's again this, that's why the role of stakeholders again come in, that how serious do they take this voluntary reporting system. So EEOI should be representative value of energy efficiency of the ship operation over a consistent period, which represents the overall trading pattern of the vessel. So in order to define or establish EEOI, the following steps generally be needed, which has defined the period for which EEOI is calculated. As of now, we are just taking one voyage. Define data sources for data collection, collect data, convert data to appropriate format, and calculate EEOI. Now, ballast voyages are also included, as well as voyages which are not used for transport, such as voyage for docking service or anything should be included in that. Voyages for the purpose for securing safety or saving life at sea, as of now, is excluded. So as in SOLAS, so if there is a voyage where the deviation is made to rescue somebody in distress out at sea, as of now is excluded from these calculations, again due to cross-cutting factors. Implementation of EEOI is an established environmental management system, should be performed in line with the implementation of any other chosen indicator. So this is just one indicator which has been detailed by IMO. If a company or operator wants to come up with another indicator, there are few in use by some operators, they can be used also. When using, however, EEOI as a performance indicator, this will provide consideration for both current performance and, as I said, trends over the time, like how my EEOI is varying with what aspects. So this will clearly give. I can give you a simple example. When I was sailing, we were at Curacao anchorage for almost 3 months, and we used to do our small trips in between, but the amount of sea growth we had, and we made a short voyage to Aruba. On full head, ship couldn't go more than 8 knots just because of the sea growth on side. So one approach could be to set internal performance criteria and targets based on the EEOI data. All said and done, we also need to understand the complexity of the situation. And this was again highlighted here yesterday. So first thing is education and awareness, which is a prerequisite for a successful work on improved energy efficiency and understanding the basic facts. Then EEOI being used as KPI in some of ship energy efficiency management plan. How many of companies are actually doing it? Because SCEMP is here since 2013, but how many have actually used it is also important. Then other factors, as discussed, propeller efficiency, SFC, operational speed, they are all at lower levels. Companies have been using this since long back, where they polish their propellers regularly whenever they are stopping for a hull cleaning or underwater survey and all that. And there another part of complexity exists, because there are different factors on different levels, and different target areas also affect each other. When we saying this, when I put this, it basically targeting is, again, end of the day, for a ship owner, he is more prone to act which is to a fact which makes a business sense to him. So he doesn't mind doing 8 knots as long as he makes his ET and get the cargo in time. So there are many different factors how to keep them interested in all these calculations. For example, a technical solution optimized for a specific trade and operational pattern will most probably not be optimal if the trading pattern is changed. For instance, by changing operational area, speed or cargoes, because each charter party or different, they have different demands. So that's why a role of stakeholder, basically ship managers or operators, is very important in this exercise. So where are we now as of now? So in short, the present regulations on greenhouse gas emissions in shipping are limited to design, as you saw, EEDI, and operational aspects, which is SCEMP and EEOI, and then compliance factors, which are not very stringent as of now, given the compliance factor, and lot depends on the willingness of ship operator. The owners and managers remain masters of the game because EEDI applies to new ships after 2013. Further, in addition, the SEEMP has added to the list of documents required on board but without obligations to be followed. So despite this lack of obligations for the ship owners, there is optimism that yes, this will be adopted. Why? Because it's a realistic option in today's content, because the implementation of energy efficient practices has direct impact on fuel consumption, and that makes a easy business case. So energy efficiency means fuel oil savings, therefore curtailing fuel expenses constitutes a significant incentive to implement and promote the regulations. So these are for your further guidance. All these MEPC resolutions are in the USB which is given to you on your registration, so which details you more on all the requirements for whatever we have discussed in reference to EEDI, SEEMP or EEOI. Any other, if you are interested further into this, you can contact any one of us, myself, Chief Engineer Esakali here, Sefan Nandan. We will provide more data on how we are going about these calculations or any other technical question you have. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.